Another thing I commonly see is, well, we have MFA, we're secure. And I've never been in an environment that has full MFA. I'll just say that. Everybody tells me they have full MFA on all their users. Haven't seen it yet. So it's a safe assumption to say that you probably don't, even if you think that. So it's important to understand that. But it's also not a silver bullet. It doesn't really solve the problem completely. So a question I often ask customers is just, if you needed to reset your password or reset your multi-factor authentication device, say you dropped your phone and it broke and you got a new phone. What's the process that a user would go through to get reestablished access? In a large environment, generally speaking, especially when if they support remote workers, they call into the help desk, and the help desk goes through a process to help that person reestablish access. Well, it's been my experience that that's done very poorly. So when I call the help desk, I'll say, man, I broke my phone. I'll do reconnaissance on a user and open source intelligence gathering and build out a user profile. So I know their name, date of birth, and details that might get asked. And I call in, I'm pretending to be that user. And I just broke my phone. I can't get into my email. It was multi-factor was set up with my phone. I got a new one. I need some help. In this last hospital engagement, believe it or not, what they ended up doing was saying, all right, we'll send you a QR code to your email. And I said, well, I can't get into my email. Oh, you have like a Gmail you could use? I was like, oh, I do have it. Yeah, I've got a Gmail. So they sent me the QR code to my Gmail, and I registered my phone, set up a new password, and took over the account, all with a quick phone call, had a little bit of information about the user, and I, quote unquote, broke my phone. So you want to understand, how is that being taken place in your environment? This is a very big risk that's not going to show up in a vuln scanner, and it has to do with abusing that core business process, as well as maybe abusing some of the account aspects as well. So account management aspects, we'll talk about in the next slide. So attacking the actual authentication. This is a really high success rate. I just talked about how we deal with the multi-factor part. Maybe that's not even involved. Maybe you don't have multi-factor, or it's just that first login, username and password. If you've ever had an email given to you that said, oh, we've recovered your username, here it is, but you didn't do that, someone's trying to break into your account. Why is that? The forgot username feature is how I do username enumeration. Because generally speaking, when you submit usernames to that, it'll tell you if you're right or wrong. It happens all the time. It'll say, oh, there's no username found in the database. Or on success, it'll say, sent an email, you have access to your email, which I don't have yet, but I now know your username. And if you look at hospitals, they're really good at telling you who works there. They're really good at telling you a directory of people that are there. And generally speaking, usernames are kind of guessable, right? First name dot last name, first initial dot last name. You can kind of put them together. They're often also part of the email address, right? So if it's just j.smith@yourhospital.com or whatever, then you can kind of extract it from there. So that's how you can validate usernames. Well, what about passwords? Well, there are a couple ways you can go about that. You can just do password guessing attacks, and you say, well, I got lockout. Well, do you? Because I will actually set up and compromise about 50 accounts per engagement, where I do what's called a slow brute force. I'll do one password attempt per hour for 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And I avoid the lockout, and I still get in thousands of password guesses. And I tailor my password guesses to local sports teams, things that are common, right? Commonly seen, keyboard walks, things like that. It works. It still always works. Another area is the forgot password feature. How is that being done? I've seen a lot of places move to a self-service password reset process where they have you answer secret questions. So you forgot your password. It'll say, what's your username? Forgot my password. And it asks a bunch of questions to answer, like 2, 3, 4 questions to answer. I had one engagement in a hospital where it asked, what was your first car, and what's your favorite sports team? It was 2 questions you had to answer. And they would rotate through a pool of questions, but I found out in the client side of the request, I could control what questions got asked there's a parameter in there, so based on a number, so you can actually control which questions you were going to try to answer, and then it would tell you which question you got right or wrong. So which car, Honda, which sports team, and it would tell you like, oh, the answer to the first question was wrong. The answer to the second question was wrong. Okay. Then I would basically focus. I went to, ChatGPT, give me a list of all cars in like the last 30 years. Gave me a big list, and I just tried them, and I eventually got a hit. Honda worked, Civic worked, right? Toyota worked. And then I would do the next one. And another question that wasn't a sports team was, what city were you born in? ChatGPT, give me a list of all the cities. Same thing. And because it told me which answer I got right, I could do one at a time. I didn't have to have the combination correct. And then it didn't penalize me for guessing. I could guess thousands of times per minute. So I basically just brute forced those secret questions and got into 5 different accounts. And then I said, and they said, oh, well, we got multi-factor, so we're not worried. Guess what? 2 of the 5 did not have multi-factor. Lo and behold, right? So again, this is abusing that application logic, that feature, and gaining access to accounts and breaking into the inside, right? Because those accounts actually had Citrix, virtual desktop. I was inside.